Hi, I'm Lauren Redgerson, and this is my video presentation of Chapter 23, where we cover the Great Depression in U.S. American history. During this chapter, it was definitely a downward turn for our country in history. After the previous chapters where we covered all the progress and hope and prosperity that the country saw, especially trying to, get back to itself after the World War I and the Spanish flu devastated the population. This was a devastating blow to Americans. The economy collapsed. There was severe overproduction in the factories, which resulted in labor cuts. A lot of Americans were unemployed. Over farming and mismanagement of the crops and everything in the Great Plains area resulted in the devastating Dust Bowl. The very fertile and necessary top layer of soil that was needed for the success of the farming industry was destroyed and not restored or conserved in any way. And a drought plagued the region as well. Dust storms ravaged the countryside and caused dust storms to billow up and build that blocked out the sun and prevented them from being able to farm any further, killed animals, choked out Americans that lived in the area who tried to, like the other, Americans across the country, they tried to wait it out. That's what President Hoover, told everybody, that there was, this wasn't going to last forever, that there would be a way out, and that Americans just needed to endure. However, Black Americans and immigrants were suffering disproportionately as they were cut first, they were cut often. If any work did come about, they were not chosen to be part of the labor force. So all Americans exhausted every resource that they had. They exhausted their savings, they exhausted family charity, local charity, credit. At the time that people were buying things on credit, and that, had devastating effects as well as they continued to borrow. There weren't really any relief programs or unemployment or anything available like that. The government at the time under President Hoover was a strong advocate for business rights and self-governing, and through that, the businesses mismanaged and corporations mismanaged what they had, and Americans suffered because of it. This endured and continued on, and Americans, plight got worse and worse. Some ultimately would pick up and try to move in search of work or better places to live or more opportunities for their families. They were seen as hobos and in a negative light and were often shunned by society. A lot of countries would close borders, California being one of them, in an effort to preserve their population and their resources. They would close off their borders to other states and prevent them from entering. So after Herbert Hoover left office, President Theodore Roosevelt took office in 1932. He won his election in a landslide. And he came in with a lot of radical ideas and different ways to structure government in order to help the American people to get through and come out of this era. Hoover cautioned against it, said it was going to fundamentally change the way that our government ran, and it would have negative repercussions on, our future as a country. But Roosevelt, in his first 100 days, steamrolled through and created many relief programs and oversight committees in order to try to bring the country back from where it was at currently. He designated a bank holiday, he closed all the banks and had them reevaluated for strength, and made sure that they were able to withstand scrutiny once they reopened. He did a lot of this in order to restore the faith in the banking community and the American population. A lot of these programs that he created had the double benefit of creating jobs for unemployed Americans. And while they did help, improve situations for many Americans, and we did see some, upward turns in the economy. He was not credited for fixing the Great Depression. That came a little bit later, once with the commencement of World War II. But he did his best, and his wife, Lady Eleanor Roosevelt, also did her best to try to advocate for civil rights and advocate for the people that were being treated most unfairly during all of this. It was a very interesting chapter. I enjoy, as always, with the letters at the end and the different articles at the end, kind of getting a glimpse into the way that people thought and how they handled these situations at the time. And that is my summary of Chapter 23 for American Yawp, The Great Depression. Thank you.